8 Genius Ways INFJs Outsmart Manipulators. Have you ever noticed how, even when a manipulator thinks they've wrapped their schemes into an airtight strategy, layers of deception, half-truths, emotional hooks, and psychological traps, the INFJ seems to slip right through it, almost as though the INFJ could see the strings before they were ever pulled, as if the script had already been read, decoded, and neatly folded long before the manipulator even delivered their first line. This video is for you, the INFJ who has spent a lifetime walking through crowded rooms feeling everything, noticing everything, absorbing everything, yet rarely ever receiving the recognition for the profound intelligence working beneath your calm and gentle exterior. And today, we're going to explore 8 genius ways INFJs outsmart manipulators. Not through force, intimidation, or confrontation, but through a psychological depth, emotional attunement, and strategic insight so subtle and so natural that most people never even realize what happened. Welcome to the world inside the INFJ's mind, your mind, where intuition isn't a guess but a fully formed blueprint, where empathy becomes an X-ray machine, and where being misunderstood often hides a brilliance that very few personalities can match. Let's begin. 1. INFJs outsmart manipulators through their silent pattern recognition. There's a moment, maybe you felt it, when someone begins speaking to you with that strange edge in their voice, the kind that tries a little too hard, asks a little too much, reaches a little too deep, and while everyone else hears words or charm or charisma, you as an INFJ hear something entirely different. You hear the rhythm of their intentions, because INFJs don't analyze people the way others do. They absorb them. You pick up not only what someone says but how they say it, which detail they emphasize, which detail they avoid, the flicker in their eyes, the twitch in their tone, the shift in emotional energy, and you begin connecting dots so quickly and so instinctively that even you sometimes don't know how you arrived at the conclusion. You just know it's right. Manipulators depend on chaos, confusion, and emotional distraction, but INFJs are masters of coherence. Where manipulators scatter breadcrumbs of deceit, the INFJ quietly collects them, lines them up, and realizes within minutes exactly what game is being played. And what's astonishing is that manipulators almost never realize that the INFJ has already unmasked them, because INFJs don't expose people impulsively. No. They observe, they wait, they prepare, and they allow the truth to reveal itself in its own time. This ability, your ability, to see patterns in human behavior faster than anyone else is one of the greatest advantages you carry. 2. INFJs outsmart manipulators with their emotional X-ray vision. Most people understand empathy as compassion or kindness, but INFJs don't simply feel with people, they feel into people. Your empathy has layers, gears, instruments, almost like a full emotional diagnostic system that powers up the moment someone steps into your presence. A manipulator tries to charm. You feel the charm sits on top of insecurity. A manipulator tries to guilt trip. You feel the fear behind their attempt to control you. A manipulator tries to love bomb. You feel the hollowness behind their sudden affection. You read the motives behind motives, the emotion beneath the action, the wound beneath the manipulation. This isn't weakness, this is psychological precision. And what makes INFJs nearly impossible to manipulate is that while you can feel another person's emotional world deeply, you don't get lost in it the way people assume. You know the difference between empathy and entanglement. You know when someone wants understanding and when they want submission. Your emotional clarity allows you to see where the manipulator's leverage actually comes from. And because you see what they need, you also see exactly what they cannot take from you. 3. INFJs outsmart manipulators by staying quiet while they analyze every angle. There is something absolutely disarming about the INFJ's quiet. Not the I have nothing to say quiet, but the I'm processing everything you're not saying quiet. Manipulators often fill silence with persuasion. They ramble, they push, they build narratives. They talk themselves into confidence. They reveal more than they should because they assume silence equals agreement or vulnerability. But INFJ silence is a strategic silence. INFJs rarely react immediately. You gather the full picture, the emotional context, the future consequences, the hidden motivations, and by the time you choose to respond, the manipulator never sees the countermove coming. Because INFJs don't fight on the surface. They fight on the psychological terrain the manipulator never even realized was the real battleground. 4. INFJs outsmart manipulators by knowing exactly when to pull away emotionally. One of the most misunderstood INFJ strengths is your ability to detach, not coldly, not abruptly, but with a kind of graceful emotional clarity that confuses manipulators more than anything. Manipulators rely on emotional engagement. They need you to respond. They need you to react. They need you to stay connected to their narrative, their pressure, their influence. But INFJs possess a unique internal switch, a quiet moment when something clicks and you say to yourself, I see exactly what this is. And when that moment happens, your emotional investment fades like a tide pulling back from the shore. You may still appear warm. You may still appear present, but internally you've stepped back. You've withdrawn your energy. You've sealed off access. And here's the genius. Manipulators don't realize they've lost their power until it's already gone. INFJs don't need dramatic exits. They simply stop feeding the connection. And a manipulator, without emotional fuel, collapses under the weight of their own tactics. 5. INFJs outsmart manipulators through long-term vision and strategic foresight. Manipulators play short-term games. What can I get right now? How can I control this moment? What leverage do I have today? But INFJs think in arcs, patterns that extend weeks, months, even years into the future. Your mind doesn't stop at the present maneuver. It evaluates the long-term story, the eventual outcome, and the real cost of someone's actions. This long-range insight is why INFJs don't fall for manipulative promises, inflated charm, or emotional pressure. You instinctively examine every situation from the vantage point of its end chapter. Manipulators expect people to chase the immediate reward, but INFJs want alignment, authenticity, purpose, and emotional truth. And because your intuition allows you to sense the trajectory of someone's behavior, where it's heading, what it's building toward, and how it will likely unfold, you avoid the traps long before they close. Your foresight is not luck. It is your greatest armor. 6. INFJs outsmart manipulators by letting them reveal themselves. INFJs know something most personality types never fully understand. People always show you who they are if you give them the time and space to do it. Manipulators love speed, quick emotional bonding, rapid trust building, sudden intensity, because they need to gain control before their inconsistencies reveal themselves. But INFJs slow everything down. You ask thoughtful questions. You observe inconsistencies gently. You allow the other person to speak freely, without pressure. And manipulators, in their eagerness to shape your perception, inevitably overplay their hand. They exaggerate. They contradict themselves. They reveal hidden motives. They expose emotional vulnerabilities. They show small cracks in their story. And what they never realize is that INFJs collect these moments like puzzle pieces, patiently waiting for enough data to build the full image. INFJs allow manipulators to unravel themselves, which is the most elegant form of outsmarting, because you never need to accuse them. You simply allow their own behavior to expose the truth. 7. INFJs outsmart manipulators through their unshakable moral compass. Manipulators thrive on moral ambiguity, on murky emotional waters, on situations where most people get confused about what's right and wrong. But INFJs don't operate in that fog. Your inner values are not flexible, they're foundational. You're not guided by convenience, you're guided by principle. You don't adjust your integrity, you stand inside it. This is why manipulative tactics, guilt trips, emotional blackmail, false flattery, subtle gaslighting, have a much harder time penetrating you than the manipulator expects. Because manipulators cannot control someone who refuses to abandon their inner truth. INFJs may feel deeply, empathize deeply, and understand deeply, but you do not compromise deeply. Your moral clarity acts like a lighthouse cutting through the fog, guiding you back to yourself. Whenever someone tries to distort your perception or bend your emotions for their own gain, your values are your shield, even when you don't realize it. 8. INFJs outsmart manipulators by choosing the perfect moment to disappear, confront, or become unreachable. After all the observing, analyzing, understanding, and connecting the dots, INFJs eventually make a decision that is final, firm, and emotionally permanent. And manipulators never see it coming, because INFJs don't break ties the way others do. You don't scream, you don't fight, you don't create chaos, you simply choose. And once you choose, the connection is done. Sometimes you leave quietly, sometimes you withdraw emotionally, sometimes you confront with the kind of calm clarity that dismantles the manipulator's entire framework. Sometimes you become unreachable in a way that is absolute and irreversible. Manipulators often chase after this moment, desperate, confused, shocked, insisting they never saw any warning signs. But that's because INFJs don't broadcast their boundaries, they embody them. And when an INFJ finally acts, it's never impulsive. It's the conclusion of hundreds of internal observations, insights, and realizations that the manipulator never knew you were having. Your exit is your victory. Your withdrawal is your protection. Your silence is your strategy. If you are an INFJ watching this, I want you to hear something that many people in your life might never have told you. Your mind is not just intuitive, it is brilliant. Your emotional depth is not a vulnerability, it is a form of intelligence. Your ability to see through people is not imagination, it is perception. And your tendency to feel misunderstood is not your fault. It is a byproduct of seeing more than most people can fathom. Manipulators may believe they are clever, but they underestimate the INFJ because they confuse quietness with naivety, empathy with gullibility, and gentleness with weakness. But you are none of these things. You are strategic, you are perceptive, you are resilient, and you are 10 steps ahead without ever needing to prove it. Never doubt the strength in your softness or the intelligence in your intuition. You are not built to be manipulated. You are built to see through the world and to walk through it with a depth and clarity that very few will ever truly understand.